Untold story.
Imagine a land so rich empires shook at its name. Gold that could sink ships, kingdoms that rivaled Rome, secrets buried in the soil. This wasn't a poor continent, this was the world's greatest prize. And that's why the untold story of Africa matters, so subscribe, because what you're about to hear will change how you see history. They came in ships. Not just any ships, but floating fortresses of wood and iron, riding the wind like predators stalking the horizon. On their decks, men with pale faces, strange clothes, and eyes that scanned the shoreline like hunters searching for prey. They carried crosses on their chests, muskets on their shoulders, and in their hearts, an unquenchable hunger for something they had only heard of in whispers. They came with empty bags, but with minds already plotting how to fill them. They had heard stories of a land where the very ground could feed empires. A place where rivers carried more than water, they carried wealth. Where mountains hid treasures older than the pyramids. That land was Africa. But this story, the real story, is not just about what they took. It is about why God placed those treasures here in the first place. And why, after thousands of years, the world is still fighting to control them. Imagine this, a continent whose soil could grow food enough to feed the whole planet, yet millions of our children go hungry. A land whose rivers could light up entire cities with their hydropower, yet villages remain in darkness. A place whose hills are heavy with gold, diamonds, and minerals worth more than the GDP of nations, yet her people live in poverty. Was this by accident? Or was it part of a plan, one so deep, so ancient, that it was written before history itself began? They came in the name of trade, but their hands reached for more than goods. They came in the name of God, but many served only the god of greed. They came smiling, offering beads and bottles, but their eyes were fixed on the earth beneath our feet. And so began a chapter in the world's history that is still being written today. A chapter that tells how Africa, the richest continent on earth, became the poorest in the eyes of the world. Why is Africa the richest continent on earth, yet her people remain among the poorest? It is a question that has echoed for generations. One that our grandparents whispered. One that our parents pondered. And one that we, too, must confront. Some say it is bad leadership. Some say it is corruption. Some say it is simply fate. But can fate alone explain such a painful contradiction? Nigeria alone sits on oceans of crude oil, vast field of natural gas, and one of the largest reserves of bitumen in the entire world, enough to pave roads from Lagos to London 100 times over. In the heart of Congo lies cobalt and coltan, the beating heart of your smartphone, your laptop, even the batteries that power electric cars. Without Congo's minerals, the modern world would grind to a halt. South Africa's gold once backed the British pound, the currency of an empire. And yet, from Cape Town to Cairo, from Lagos to Addis Ababa, millions still sleep on empty stomachs, their homes lit not by electricity, but by kerosene lamps and candlelight. Is this truly by accident? Or is there a deeper, almost spiritual design? When you read the holy books, the Bible, the Quran, you find descriptions of lands where rivers of life flowed, where gold was abundant, where gardens seemed to touch heaven. Some of those descriptions sound more like Africa than anywhere else on earth. Could it be that the Creator himself placed his greatest treasures here? Not for them to be stolen, but for them to be guarded, nurtured, and shared among his children. And if so, then why have we been the ones locked out of the vault? Long before Europe even knew the earth was round. Long before their kings sent ships across the oceans in search of spice, silk, and gold. Africa was already a center of wealth, of knowledge, of power. We were not wandering in the dark, waiting to be discovered. We were already building, already trading, already teaching the world without even leaving our shores. In the land of Kemet, which the world now calls Egypt, the pharaohs built palaces lined with gold leaf so pure it glowed in the moonlight. Their temples rose higher than any European building of the time, each stone carved by master hands without machines, without cranes, yet they still stand today, thousands of years later. In Nubia, the warrior kings and queens walked into battle wearing jewelry heavier than the swords they carried. Their crowns were not just symbols of rule, they were reminders that their land flowed with abundance. Travel west, and you would find the city of Timbuktu, not just a market of goods, but a market of ideas. Here, books were worth more than salt, and salt itself was worth more than gold. Scholars traveled from across the Sahara to study astronomy, mathematics, law, and medicine. Some of the world's oldest libraries still hold the leather-bound manuscripts written by African hands centuries before printing presses reached Europe. And then, there was Mansa Musa, the Malian king whose wealth still makes him the richest man in recorded history. When he set out for Mecca in the year 1324, he did not travel quietly. He moved with a caravan of tens of thousands, soldiers in fine silk, servants carrying gold bars, and camels loaded with so much treasure that, when he gave it away freely, the price of gold in the Middle East crashed and did not recover for 12 years. But Africa's riches were not only in gold and silver. Our wealth was in wisdom. From the thick green forest came medicine still used today in modern pharmaceuticals. From the shrines of our priests came mathematics, systems of counting and measurement older than Greek geometry. From our elders came the knowledge of the stars, the movement of the seasons, the cycles of life, long before telescopes or satellites. Our traders crossed deserts, sailed rivers, and built ports where spices from India, silks from China, and glass from Venice met African ivory, ebony, and gold. We did not wait for the word came to us. And in those days, we were not begging for aid. We were lending it. We were not signing contracts for loans. We were sealing agreements of friendship with gifts that could feed nations. We were the heartbeat of the ancient world. Some elders say, Africa was chosen. Not chosen in the way colonial powers claimed, not by the force of their flags or the sound of their cannons, but chosen from the beginning, by the Creator himself. They say that before the mountains were shaped, before the rivers found their paths, before the oceans settled into their basins, the Almighty decided, I will place here, in this land, treasures beyond measure. It was not a mistake. It was not chance. It was by design. A blessing, because this land could feed and clothe its children until the end of time. A test, because wealth can be a light, or it can become a fire that burns those who hold it. In the traditions of the Ashanti, the Zulu, the Yoruba, the Shona, and countless others, there are stories passed down through generations, stories of sacred mountains and hidden valleys where the Creator placed gold, diamonds, and other treasures. But in those stories, the message is clear: these are not for greed. They are for the care of the people. The riches were to be guarded, nurtured, and used for the good of the land, never to be stolen or squandered. Even the rivers tell their own prophecy. The Nile, stretching over 6,600 kilometers, carrying life through deserts. The Congo, twisting like a great snake through the heart of the rainforest, pulsing with energy. The Niger, feeding farmlands and sustaining cities for centuries. In ancient prophecy, some elders would say, as long as the rivers flow, Africa's destiny is not finished. These rivers are not just water. They are the veins of the continent. They carry history. They carry hope. Our ancestors did not see wealth only as gold or jewels. To them, wealth was fertile soil. It was rain in season. It was a child born healthy. It was a community that shared harvest, joy, and grief together. Wealth was not stored in vaults. It was stored in the strength of the people. It was stored in the unity of families. It was stored in the blessing of knowing that, no matter how hard the season, no one would go hungry if the land was cared for. But the Creator's gift was also a warning, for he knew that when the world heard of this abundance, it would come running. And so, the test began. Some nations guarded their treasures with courage. Others fell to greed and division, opening the gates to strangers who promised friendship but brought chains. And yet, even after centuries of loss, the same soil still produces. The same rivers still run. The same mountains still hold their secrets deep within. This is why the elders say, the blessing is still here, but the test is not over. But when the world couldn't compete with Africa's power, they chose another way to break it. The question is, how do you enslave a giant? That's part 2, don't miss it.
Afritruth, the untold story continues.